Imagine this. You did everything right. You sat through 4 years of lectures. You pulled all-nighters writing essays nobody will ever read again. You walked across that stage, grabbed your diploma, smiled for the camera, and then Monday came. And you opened your laptop and you started applying. 10 jobs, 50 jobs, 100 jobs, 200 jobs, and nothing. Not even a rejection email. Just silence. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's because this isn't just your story. This is the story of an entire generation. Gen Z is the most educated generation in history. Let that land for a second. More degrees, more certifications, more online courses completed at 2 a.m. with cold coffee and existential dread. And somehow, despite all of that, they're walking into one of the most brutal job markets we've seen in decades. But here's the thing nobody wants to talk about. The crisis didn't start with Gen Z. It started long before they ever sent their first application.
Here's what happened. For decades, the deal was simple. Society handed you a script. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, buy a house, retire. Done. Your parents followed it. Your grandparents followed it. And for a while, it actually worked. A degree meant something. It was a golden ticket. You walked into a company, shook someone's hand, and you had a career. But somewhere along the way, the script broke, and nobody updated it. Tuition skyrocketed. The cost of a 4-year degree in the U.S. has gone up over 1,200% since the 1980s. Let me say that again, 1,200%. Meanwhile, wages, they barely moved. So now you've got an entire generation drowning in student debt, holding degrees that used to guarantee a middle-class life, and the guarantee expired. Companies started asking for 3 to 5 years of experience for entry-level roles. Entry-level. Think about that. How does someone fresh out of college have 5 years of experience? It's a riddle with no answer, and it's designed that way. But the broken promise is only half the story. Because while the old system was crumbling, something else was rising. Something that would change everything.
Automation, AI, algorithms. You're not just competing with other applicants anymore. You're competing with software that doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, doesn't need health insurance, and never calls in sick. And listen, I'm not here to be a doomsday prophet. Technology has always changed work. The printing press put scribes out of business. The automobile retired the horse and buggy. That's how progress works. But here's what's different this time. The speed. Previous industrial revolutions took decades. This one is taking years, sometimes months. A tool launches on a Tuesday, and by Friday, it's already doing a job that used to require a whole department. Customer service? Chatbots. Data entry? Automated. Content writing? Well, let's just say it's complicated. Even coding, the thing everyone told Gen Z to learn, is being reshaped faster than anyone predicted. And the wild part? Most of the jobs Gen Z was trained for in college are exactly the ones being automated first. The safe jobs, the stable jobs, the ones their parents told them to aim for. So if the old playbook doesn't work, and the new technology is eating jobs faster than we can create them, what's a generation supposed to do?
Before I tell you the part that actually gives me hope, we need to talk about something people keep sweeping under the rug: the mental health cost. Because this isn't just an economic problem, this is a human one. When you send out 300 applications and hear back from nobody, that doesn't just hurt your bank account. It hurts your identity, your sense of self, your belief that effort actually means something. Gen Z is reporting record levels of anxiety and depression. And yes, social media plays a role. But you know what also plays a role? Watching your peers land jobs on LinkedIn while you're eating cereal for dinner and wondering if your degree was a scam. There's this unspoken shame around unemployment in your 20s, like somehow it's your fault, like you're lazy, like you're not hustling hard enough. And that narrative is toxic. Because the truth is, the system was already rigged before you ever log in. You can do everything right and still lose.
And that's not a failure of character. That's a failure of infrastructure. But, and this is important, Gen Z isn't responding to this the way previous generations did. They're doing something completely different, something that might actually be the smartest play of all.
They're rewriting the rules. See, here's what's fascinating about Gen Z. They grew up watching millennials get burned. They watched their older siblings and cousins follow the script, collect the debt, and still end up working jobs they hated. They saw the burnout, the layoffs, the "we're like a family here" companies that fired people over Zoom. And they said, nah, we're not doing that. Gen Z is the generation of side hustles, personal brands, and creator economies. They're not waiting for permission anymore. A 22-year-old with a phone and a Wi-Fi connection can build an audience of millions, can launch a brand from a dorm room, can earn more from one viral video than their parents made in a month. They're freelancing, they're starting micro businesses, they're choosing flexibility over the corner office. And yeah, the older generation calls it entitled or unrealistic. But is it? Or is it just adapting? When the traditional path leads off a cliff, choosing a different direction isn't laziness, it's survival. But let's be honest, not everyone can be a creator. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. So what about the rest? What about the millions who just want a decent job that pays enough to live?
The truth nobody wants to face is this. We don't have a Gen Z problem. We have a system problem wearing a generational mask. Every single criticism thrown at Gen Z, they're lazy, they're entitled, they don't want to work, has been said about every young generation in history. Boomers said it about Gen X. Gen X said it about millennials. And now millennials are saying it about Gen Z. It's the oldest script in the book. And it's a distraction. Because while we're busy blaming 23-year-olds for not wanting it enough, we're ignoring the fact that wages haven't kept up, housing is unaffordable, education is overpriced, and the entire structure of work is shifting beneath our feet. Gen Z isn't the problem. Gen Z is the mirror. They're showing us what happens when you promise a generation the world and hand them a broken map. And instead of falling apart, they're building new roads. So yeah, there's a jobs crisis, but there's also something else. A generation that's more transparent, more adaptable, and more willing to call out nonsense than any that came before. And if history teaches us anything, it's that the generation everyone underestimates is usually the one that changes everything. If this hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me your story. And if you're in the middle of this fight right now, I see you. Keep going.